All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're so glad to have you joining us on a Monday night at 7 p.m. My name is Helen Higgins. I'm the CEO here for the Boys and Girls Club. And this is a new medium for us here at the club using Zoom and holding meetings. So we're really excited to be experiencing this together. It's not new for our organization to be working with kids and really being advocates for youth across the community. Youth and youth of color. So really thrilled to have our teens leading this activity, and you'll get to hear more about that from Camila as she gets us going. But what we want you to know is that the Boys and Girls Club and our board of directors, we are committed to doing the work to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is definitely a journey that is all about personal growth and perpetual learning. And I know for me, I am definitely ready to listen and to hear what our teens have to say. And create a really safe and welcoming space for them to do that. And I'd like to acknowledge before our teens get started that the work that they're doing, the conversations, these are courageous conversations that they're going to have with us tonight. It's really hard to relive the trauma of being discriminated against and then to be able to share those feelings that are going to come up. So I want to let you know, I want the teens to know how much we appreciate your willingness to help us learn and to help us expand our perspective. So our commitment to you tonight is to listen and listen empathetically. And we're here to listen, to learn from you. And we want to hear your ideas on how we can be a part of the solution at addressing racism. So in the spirit of the Boys and Girls Club's mission to inspire and advocate for youth, and our commitment to support diversity, equity, and inclusion, our high school teen staff, Camila is right there, wave your hand, Camila, is going to be facilitating. Casey Higgins, our high school director, will be managing the chat box and pulling questions when we get to that part. And again, at any time you can type your questions into the chat box and we'll be monitoring that. All right, so Camila, I'm going to hand it on over to you to get us going. So take it away.
Perfect. And I just want to make sure that Malik and Josiah, who will be helping me start off tonight, are connected somewhere along the 34 members. But basically, hello, everyone. My name's Camila. I want to start off by saying that this evening is about listening. Our purpose for tonight is to create an opportunity for teens to share their stories and an opportunity for you to walk in the shoes of the teens of color who have grown up in our community, in our local community. We have asked our teens to share a story of an experience.
Oh my God, I was so proud.
They didn't belong or they were made feel less than because of their skin color. These are courageous conversations that we're having tonight, and those of you that are here to listen are showing your support. Your support is felt because you're here on this Zoom call and willing to spend the next hour or so to walk in these teens' shoes. We want you to know that the Boys and Girls Club is committed to creating opportunities so that all youth are empowered to use their voice to drive positive change in our local community and our world, just to set some expectations. And we don't expect to solve any problems tonight. Our goal is for them to be listened and heard and for their stories to be shared. And I would love to start introducing our first two speakers, Malik and Josiah, to give you a little background on these two boys. I met them over 2 years ago during their freshman year. Now they're going into junior year in the fall. And the way that all of this kind of came to light was when one day they came into the teen center and I noticed that Malik was having a bad day and so was Jojo. So when I asked them what was going on, they kind of just exclaimed, I'm tired of racism. And it's been an ongoing conversation that we've had on what are some things that we can do to bring awareness to the issue, what projects, ideas, and it's, it couldn't be a better time to focus on this. Since then, like I said, it's just been an ongoing conversation. And it wasn't until recently that we decided to address this. And we are ready to share these teen stories. You know, like Helen mentioned, it takes a lot for them to open up about certain things that they've gone through and to relieve that trauma. So I really want to thank them for being here tonight. So with further ado, Malik and Josiah, are you both in the house tonight?
And you may need to unmute.
We may need to unmute. Let's see if I can find them along the crowd.
They should be able to unmute themselves too.
It should be. Malik, Jojo, are you guys here? Maybe they haven't logged in yet. Huh. Well, maybe it'll be a little bit until they are able to log in. As of now, I am not finding them on here. But what we can do is, until the both boys log in, we can go ahead and jump into our next speaker. Basically, we're just having a few of our teens tonight that go to both high schools to just share some of their experiences within their community. So since some of them are here present right now, we can go ahead and start with them. So how about we start with Kayla Davis. And let's go ahead and unmute Kayla.
Oops, I'm unmuted now. Hi. Good start. Okay. So originally I had this whole list of like things that I've experienced, you know, like through my whole life. And there was one like major experience in middle school that was like something very near and dear to me. But I realized that out of all these experiences that I go through, the one thing that really matters is myself and the internalized racism that I experience with myself and telling myself that I am less because of this, and that. And you can ignore the people who are racist towards you. You can ignore like the issues that you experience because of what you look like. But at the end of the day, you come home and you're still in your own body. And I think it's extremely important that you educate yourself and you tell yourself that you're beautiful and you are important to everyone else, to other people, and most importantly to yourself, and not allowing those words that people say about you and towards you to get a reaction out of you, whether or not they believe in them or not. You don't let that impact you. You listen to them, you hear what they have to say, and you tell yourself that they're wrong. You tell yourself that you are not a monkey. Not all Black people have giant foreheads. Not all Black people are uneducated. Not all Black people know the whole history of Africa and all this and that. Not all Black people like watermelon. Like all these stereotypes and all these things that people say and may or may not think. Like, I have to tell myself that I'm beautiful. And that just because my white friends may be thought of as more attractive, I have the Black girl magic, that I have power that they do not. And not saying that they are less than me. We are equals, but there is something different about the Black community that I've experienced as I've become more confident with myself, being a mixed kid. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. But just experiencing those times when people are like, I'm not attracted to you because you're Black. And not wanting to work with me because I'm Black, and, you know, just having to come home and tell myself like what they're saying isn't true, like, is so important. And that's something I really wanted to talk about, is because yes, these experiences are horrible, and, you know, there's no matter what you say, they will always be with you. But like, just telling yourself that you are important and that your skin color does not define you is something I wanted to bring up. But yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I got emotional right there with you. You know, it takes a lot of courage to step up and say things like that. You know, you are beautiful inside and out.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing that with us. I wanted to ask you, so with this experience that you've had, what advice or suggestions do you want to share with us to make a difference moving forward?
Being able to communicate with people is really important. Being able to tell yourself and communicate with yourself as well. Being able to sit down with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and say, just because your skin color is darker than someone else's does not mean that you're less, and just making an environment around yourself and around people that you can trust, and being able to be yourself and really like learn self-love. And I think that's really important. And yeah, and just educating yourself. Like, just when I've gone to the African American Youth Leadership Conferences held at OSU, just seeing all the mixed kids and Black kids and just all these people who have experienced similar things as me, to be able to support me and I can support them. And just, I learned Black girl magic there, and it just like, it really meant something to me. It really made me feel strong. And ever since then, I've been able to be more of an advocate and stand up for myself. And yeah, sorry. But yeah, it's really emotional. But yeah, I think it's most important that you set up an environment like how my mom is here, and how my mom's boyfriend is here, and then my dad's ex-boyfriend is here, ex-girlfriend is here, sorry. And how they're here for me, and they're here because they care about the environment that I put myself in. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Kayla. You got a room full of people here tonight that are here for you too. So thank you for sharing that. It takes a lot.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Kayla. Well,
and I noticed that Josiah's on. Jojo made it.
Jojo, how's it going?
Good.
So everyone, this is Josiah. Jojo was telling everyone a little bit about how this project got started a few years ago, just between a conversation that we had with you, Malik, and I. Hi, Malik. So I thank you guys for joining tonight. I was hoping to have each of you share a little bit of your story. Whoever would like to start first. Jojo, since you're the first one that I see right there, would you be able to tell us a little bit of your story?
Well, pretty much I've lived here like almost my whole life, and you know, my whole life I've pretty much just got racist comments my whole life, and you know, and I'm just glad that people are starting to like do something about it. But like elementary school, middle school, people like, I'm like the only like Black or colored person in my class, I guess. So it's like really tough. And I've had people call me like slave or go pick cotton, or let's see, or just say like hard R and stuff like that to me. And ever since Malik has come here, he's like made me feel stronger, stuff like that. Like now that I'm not alone, because there's like, I didn't have like anyone like that for a while, but now I have Malik, and he's my brother. So yeah, everything. But let's see. Let's see. Where do I start from? Like, where do I go from? Camila.
Whatever you're comfortable sharing.
All right. I guess I don't know. I feel like I kind of feel like I don't belong here, and that there's nowhere I can go if if I'm not happy or I'm feeling sad or something like that. And I just feel like I'm not respected sometimes, and that you know, it's like no one cares. You know what I mean? But there are some people I found out that do care, like Camila. Really cares. And I really trust her, but there's like really not a lot of people I trust here. Just bad experiences.
Well, thank you, Jojo, for sharing that. I'm in tears already. Is there something, what advice would you have for us moving forward from here on, now that we've listened to your story?
I say try and find somebody that you can open up to. Find somebody that respects you and, you know, respects you for who you are. And like, even if you're not the same colorism, they fully respect you and that you could talk to them and they could talk to you and they just make you feel safe. Like, I feel like that's my best advice I can give. It's better when you go in it with somebody than alone.
And you know that you're not alone here.
Yeah.
We all fully support you.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for sharing that. That takes a lot to say. Malik, hello.
Hi.
How are you doing, sir?
Good.
Would you like to share your story with us?
Yes. Okay, where did I start? So before I moved to Oregon, I lived in Washington, and Washington was a pretty diverse state. Like, my school was diverse, and like the after-school activities that I went to was pretty diverse. So there was like a bunch of colors, so I didn't have to worry about racism and stuff. But ever since I moved to Oregon, I had to move to Oregon because my grandpa passed away, and my mom wanted to get closer to family because she wasn't doing well in Washington. We weren't doing well as a family in Washington. We were struggling, and we were living with roommates, living off of check to check, trying to survive off of, food stamps and stuff like that. And so we weren't doing the best in Washington. And so we decided to come to Corvallis because my mom grew up in Corvallis. And so basically, I came in 7th grade to Sheldon, and it was crazy. Like, it's different because like I didn't see any like people of like a lot of people of color, and so everybody like thought I was like weird because of my hairstyles and like because I had like a different like I don't know like because I was different. Like they judged me. People judged me off of my hairstyles. Like I don't know how I would talk. They say like Black people smell weird. Just a bunch of other stuff that I had to deal with ever since I didn't have to deal with this until I came here, and I've been bullied because of my skin color. I've been categorized because of my skin color. Oh, all Black people don't have dads. Oh, all Black people do this, do that, and it was terrible for me. I went through depression because of it, and it was just hard because I felt like I had nobody. I had friends who knew what I was going through.
What?
Somewhat knew I was going through, and they just no one really. So, basically, I had to survive, like in that type of situation, and like people like it was like me against the world at that point, and it's just a lot of racism and people just like favoring I don't even know if I said that right, other people because of their skin color. Like it was to the point where like I just like felt like I didn't belong here or belong in this world is because like I felt like everybody was against me, and my mom was scared to move back here because she was scared that I had to go through what she had to go through, because she literally had to fight every single time just to walk down the hallway. And so like I've struggled. I'm still struggling a little bit, not as much, but racism is still a thing, and it's gonna still continue to be a thing if we don't stop it or do something about it. You know, we shouldn't judge other people because of their skin color or where they came from. We should, you know, treat everyone as how we want to be treated, and we need to treat others like we're all the same. Like, we shouldn't like perceive anybody as a color. You know, we should all feel like we are the same. And so that's basically my story on dealing with racism.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Malik. Malik, at the beginning, before you logged in, I was sharing a little bit with everyone how this all came to light, and it happened. I think you guys definitely remember, but your freshman year, there was just one day where you came, you remember, and you were just, you know, it was just not a good day, and I just kept bugging you like, what's wrong, and you and Jojo just basically told me, you know, we're just sick of racism. And I want to thank both of you for confiding in me, because that's been an ongoing conversation since your freshman year, now that you're both going into your junior year. And you know, it's something that we've all been passionate about, just finding ways on how to help you all. So I'm very grateful that you're both here sharing your story tonight. You know, it takes a lot to do that. So thank you both so much. Malik, now that you've shared your story, moving on forward, would there be any advice that you would like to give to us, or anything, any changes, anything that you would hope to get out of this?
You know, I just like hope like people understand that, you know, there's other people that have to go through these type of things, especially being a person of color. You have to worry about, oh, will this today be my last day? And it's not good to, like, you know, have that fear, you know? Mm-hmm. And I just feel like other people need to like have that understanding of how we feel and how we have to deal with things more than how other people deal with it, you know? I don't know.
Yes, definitely.
The words, but like, it's just like hard being scared to like going, like being outside and walking down the street, knowing that you don't know when your last day is going to be because of nowadays, you know? And it's hard being a person of color. So yeah, have that understanding. So,
Thank you so much, Malik and Josiah. It's been really amazing listening to you guys tonight. Really the inspiration of all of this. Thank you. If there's anything else you guys would like to say?
Know your worth.
No matter what skin color you are, you belong in this world, and
you are
loved
by somebody.
Yes, I agree 100%.
And I thank you so much, Camila, for, you know, being a person that we can go to when like times are tough, or like when we have to deal with this stuff. You always, you know, you always find a way to help us through it and make us feel better about ourselves.
Well, you guys know I love you all. You guys are all my kids.
And it inspires me every day. Knowing my worth and knowing that I belong in this world, same as every other person on this planet, inspires me to become a better person.
Well, that inspires, I'm sure, all of us to do better, and, you know, just keep an open eye on the whole thing and do our best to help. Mm-hmm. So thank you guys so much. So moving on to our next speaker, we have Terrell Brown in the house. Hi, Terrell. Oh, there you go. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Camila?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, of course.
The spotlight is all yours, my friend.
All right. So before I came here to Oregon, I used to live in California. And in California, I wouldn't say it was that diverse. I lived in Sonoma County.
Yeah, wine country.
Wine country. And I lived in a town called Rohnert Park, and we lived in a pretty small house. It was about, well, I don't know, like the square.
7,500 square feet.
Yeah, like 7,500 square feet. It wasn't that big.
Oh no, 7,500. That's like 7,000.
Yo, whoa, that's pretty big. No, it wasn't like that. It was pretty small. I wish we had a house like that. No, but it was pretty small. We lived in a complex. Our neighbors, they were all right. Some of them, they were like drug addicts and stuff like that. But I was so young that I didn't really realize how, like, not poor, but like how just like how low down we were from being like an average citizen, I guess. So after my mom, she had Graves' disease from smoking and drinking, we moved up here because paying her medical bills and paying the rent for the house was a little too much for everyone. So we had to move to a cheaper state. So then we moved to Oregon, Corvallis. And I finished my 8th grade year pretty strong, I would say. I didn't really make that many friends. And it's kind of hard going into 8th grade and then coming out of 8th grade, then going straight into high school. And I had no idea what was going to happen there. And I had pretty bad isolation from my peers because the way I looked. There wasn't a lot of Black people like me, so it was hard for me to find others, and just others that just think like me, because I like people that are either smarter than me or just as smart as me. So I just don't want. But it was just hard for me to find someone that was like me. Oh yeah, I left a lot of friends back in California because I had a lot of friends that I grew up with, and to leave them all behind like so fast, it hurt me a lot. And then my 9th grade year of high school, like I said before, I was pretty isolated from my peers. I really didn't have any friends. The only friend I did have was this teacher. Her name was Miss Hackerthorne. She was my health teacher, the best teacher I've ever had. And I used to sit in her class like almost every day and just talk to her about just like how the school was run and just like all the extracurriculars I could do because I really had nothing else to do. And then one day I heard about the teen center. I was like, oh, what's that? And I checked it out. And then that's the first time I met you, Camila. And I met Malik and JoJo and everyone else. And I felt like a place where I belonged, and a place where like I could finally fit in with people that looked like me. And over time, I have made friends at CHS, and I have been called names and stuff, but that doesn't really like get to me. I feel like the thing that gets to me the most is just like it's easier to brush something off that's hate, but like if they're just joking about it like all the time, then it just gets really annoying, and it's just hard to brush it off every single time. And but now that I'm like more well known in the school, I feel like people, they respect me a little bit more than just like the new kid that just came in from last year. So I feel like I'm well established at the school. So if anyone else like tries to like call me like names or something, my friends, they would have my back now instead of just me all by myself, and I'll be like, I don't know what to do. So I just want to say thank you, Camila, and thank you for like all the staff at the teen center, because you guys really helped me like just help me belong somewhere for the beginning of my life in Oregon. So thank you.
Of course. Funny enough, Miss Hackerthorne was my teacher too in high school. absolutely loved her. Everything about her, just her welcoming environment, everything. I actually invited her tonight. I don't think she could make it, but I'll make sure to pass on the message to her. But, you know, from the moment we met you and your brother, you guys were just so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story tonight. You know, you have a place at the club. You know, we're all here for you. I got your back too. So thank you so much, Terrell, for sharing your story tonight. Is there any advice that you would like to give us all on something that could be done moving forward?
I guess a lot of people have said this before, but what I would say was just maybe this look at yourself in the mirror like every day, and just really look at yourself and be like, man, I'm really cute, I'm really handsome, I'm really this, I'm really that, because you are. I look at myself in the mirror, I style my hair, I make sure I put on lotion on my face and stuff. I like today I got a new haircut, I put it in a bun and stuff. I just make sure I look as clean as possible so no one has an excuse to make fun of me. That's just all that's the advice I got.
Well, you look amazing, Terrell.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you again for sharing. Do we have Tyrese Brown in the house?
Tyrese. Here you go, Tyrese.
Oh. Hello.
Hi, friend. This is Tyrese Brown, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, friend.
Yeah, I can.
You now have the spotlight as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't get on my own computer because like it said it required a password. So like I just went in here with my brother. So yeah.
Well, thank you. What would you like to share with us tonight?
Well, I would like to share you about racism, like, and that stuff that happened to me in middle school. So when I was in middle school, I was like the new kid, like my brother. I was in 7th grade. My brother was in 8th grade. I was just a loner. I was just looking around and seeing what we have at the school, and I was like seeing any diversity, but there was like mostly Caucasians and Mexicans. I'm not trying to be racist here, but like I'm just saying there were mostly not a lot of diverse people here, and I just felt like I was just left down and I couldn't really make any friends. So I would say like I don't really wanted to make friends at all. And I just didn't feel like I belonged in the school. And the only person I would like to hang out with is my brother, because me and my brother like to have have similar interests, because we get along with each other. And I really enjoy with my brother. I really like hanging out with my brother. And I've seen like a lot of friend groups. I joined some of them, but like realistically, I didn't really like the friend groups. I didn't like what the people were doing in there. I didn't like what they were saying to me and what they were doing to other people. So I just dropped any friend groups entirely. Like, I'm trying to make friends next year. My freshman year ended pretty shortly, and I just hung out with my brother the whole time. But probably next year I can probably find some like-minded people like me, and I can find some people that are educated and see what's happening around the school, because I didn't do that my freshman year. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Tyrese, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, it takes a lot to share that. And since the moment we met you, your freshman year, it was just always a blast to see you and your brother. I feel like the day that you guys were here, because you guys during the school year, you guys are pretty busy. So in the summers when we get to see you the most, and it's always just something to look forward to because you're both a joy to have around.
Yeah,
And you always know that you're supported here with us. You know, we are your friends, and neither of you are alone here. And this is your home as well. And I hope you feel that way.
Well, thank you, Camila. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course. Would you like to share any advice or any suggestions or a change that you would like to see moving forward?
Well, I would like to see is actually I'll give some advice. So if you're like if you're new to the school and you can't really find any friend groups, just look around and just see what's happening, like with any friend groups. Just join some. If you don't like them, just drop them, and like just try to find some good friends, and you can do that.
Thank you so much, Tyrese.
I am.
Sorry, go ahead.
Never mind, it's nothing.
Okay, well, just anytime if you want to share something, feel free to, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you so much, Tyrese.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. I don't know how much longer I can take. Moving on to our next speaker. So some of these specifically, these teens where our current teens that attend the Boys and Girls Club are the Johnson Teen Center, and they're very much involved with their club. They're also teens that are currently still in school. So to finish with those that are here in school currently, we also invited some high school graduates from our community, and I would like to introduce them. We have Nevaeh. Am I saying your name right, Nevaeh?
Yeah, Nevaeh.
Nevaeh, would you like to share a little bit about yourself with us?
Yeah, so I'm biracial, so my mother is white, my dad is black, and so growing up, I'm from San Diego. I couldn't really fit in with the white kids because I was too black, and I couldn't really fit in with the black kids because I was too white. So I never really felt like I was accepted, and that was just everywhere I've been. I just kind of felt like an outcast, I guess, and I look up to my mom so much, and she's white. I always used to literally pray, oh my gosh, I just want to be white. I'm tired of being black. I don't fit in. I don't feel comfortable around people when I'm walking around the mall with my friends. Like, I constantly see people staring at me. Like, I just wanted to so much just not be black anymore. I was ashamed of who I was. I was ashamed that I just couldn't be myself. I felt very lost growing up. So then I moved to Corvallis in 7th grade, which is really hard for me. I was really depressed. I did not really have a friend group, but thankfully I started volleyball actually at Boys and Girls Club. I used to go there, and that was the start of my volleyball career. And so I slowly kind of started feeling, I guess, like I belonged, even though I didn't see any familiar faces. I was the only black student in almost every class. I've never had a black teacher before, or just a black mentor in general, besides obviously my dad. But even then, there was no other females to look to. It was just constantly by myself. And so I was constantly trying to blend in and be like everyone else. And I would perm my hair. I hated my hair, like just all these different things trying to blend in. And so growing up, I definitely didn't want to stand out. Didn't want to cause a lot of attention, but at the same time, I could tell that people were just not really, they were just looking at me differently. And so I tried my best to blend in. And thankfully, like my senior year now, I definitely started embracing being black, being strong, being powerful, being intelligent, being beautiful. I embraced all of that, and thankfully I'm proud to be black. I'm proud to know that people are starting to fight up and speak out about issues going on. And so, yeah, it was a hard transition, definitely just moving here, but thankfully I have an amazing group of friends now that are just brothers and sisters all around me. Obviously, I don't really have that many Black friends, but I do have people that love me enough and that will speak up for me, and I know they'll speak up for me. So yeah, I'm going to be going to University of Portland next year for volleyball on a full athletic scholarship. So I'm really proud about myself about that. I worked really hard for that. So I'm glad to be joining the Portland community and hopefully seeing other brothers and sisters up there and to start doing stuff like that. I know I led a protest in Corvallis not too long ago that I was extremely proud about. And so now I'm embracing everything about my culture. I'm not ashamed to be Black anymore. And I can definitely say before I used to be, but now I'm not. So yeah, that's basically my story.
That's a beautiful story, Nevaeh. Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you mind if I ask you, would you like to share a little bit more on your experience with the march that you led on Monday?
Yeah, so I started going to marches in Portland pretty frequently, and I was just like, why is Corvallis not have had a march yet? Like, I was like, where are all these people at? And so it was funny because when the first march actually happened, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I don't want it to do that too. So the first march happened with students from OSU been organizing it, and I got in contact with one of the people and I was like, I want to do my own march. Like, is that okay with you guys? Like, I don't want to feel like I'm taking over. I'm a young Black woman trying to do something for my community. And they're like, oh no, like, we need all the help we can get. And like, if you're doing your own thing, that's totally fine. So I basically just picked a date and I was like, we're going to do it. We're going to march. And I loved the type. I tried to transfer over kind of what I saw in Portland because it was like 20,000 plus people in Portland showing up, all races, of all ethnicities. It was just beautiful to see. And I was so proud of just seeing all my people there. And so I wanted to do the same thing for Corvallis. And so that's what I basically did. And it was an amazing turnout and it was really fun. And I just loved organizing it and being able to have speakers come, both Black and white, to share their sides of the story. And yeah, it was really fun. And hopefully I can do one soon. But yeah, I just kind of put it together and it just happened.
That is so amazing, Nevaeh. I went to the one on Sunday and it was such an amazing experience. But once I found out the one on Monday was led by a student, you know, it's just so amazing what you're doing, all the hard work you're putting, you know, the light that you're shining on this issue. It takes a lot, you know, to do that. And, you know, we're all so proud of you. That's so amazing. What an amazing experience.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah, of course.
All right. And now we have Guillermo Valle. He has been a part of our club for a very long time. He was our Youth of the Year last year here at the club. Woo! He just graduated this year. And now you have the spotlight.
Well, I don't really know where to start. I guess I'll just like say a little bit about myself. I moved here when I was 7 from El Salvador, and I lived like in Washington and California. And I guess like in like the 3 places I lived before, I haven't like really experienced much racism because it was like a lot of people of color in those schools. But I mean, Corvallis is predominantly white, and it is a problem. And even like starting in like elementary school when I was still learning English, I think it was hard, like having people constantly like make fun of the way I talked or like the way I looked. And I didn't really know how to take that because I never like experienced that before. Like coming from El Salvador and just, you know, having people speak Spanish all the time and not really like thinking about that. And then I went back to El Salvador for middle school. And then came back for high school here. And my mom is still working. Well, she was still working as like a cleaner and a nanny for this like doctor couple in Corvallis. And we were living in their house, like under their roof. And it was like constant like microaggressions, I would say. Like, I think every time they would introduce me to someone, they would make it seem like I came from like a dirty place or like somewhere like they like saved me from the jungle or something. And it was always like something like that. And there was also like that constant question from like their friends, like the couple's friends, that if I was a citizen. And I think that's like an issue when you're an immigrant, and like getting that question all the time when it's nobody's business but your own. But I always like felt pressure to answer because I was like in front of them and my mom worked for them, and I was just like put in the spotlight kind of, I guess. I don't know. And I think it got really tiring having them and like their friends constantly assume like El Salvador was dangerous, and that, you know, like it honestly, I'm like as much danger as I am there as I am here. Like they're both dangerous places for me. I'm not safe like in either of them. But it also bothers me that they only focus on the bad things that my country has, and never the good things. I love my country, and I'm always like proud to be where I'm from. During high school, I started out at like Crescent Valley, and that was really hard because that was just like the whitest school I've ever been to. There was no community for me really, and I've always had like, you know, other like Latinx and Black friends at my schools, and always like been around them, and it was very different being in that environment and like having to find a group of people to like hang out with, which happened to be like mostly white students, which like they would also make fun of me to like being from El Salvador, coming back, and like the way I talk and everything like that. And then there was one instance that like really bothered me because I guess I'll just explain it, but there was this one time where my friend Marin, we worked on a engineering project together, which was meant to be individual, but I was helping her catch up, and our like engineering teacher accused us of plagiarism, and there was like no excuse, like there wasn't a warning, I mean. It was just, he called our parents immediately and like put something in our student file right after. I don't really know if that happened because I never checked, but it made me really upset. And I think what made me even more angry was the fact that like a white student in that same class copied an assignment off the internet, and there was no consequences for her because of like him not wanting her parents to get involved. And that's an issue at CV that I think a lot of people face because so many students come from wealthy white families, and they have that privilege always over like the students of color that come from low income families, because their parents like get money to the school, or their parents like contribute like more to the school than the other students do, so they have more to lose with them. But it was just like, I think that made me realize that like CV wasn't really a school built for people of color, and it still isn't. Just like it's very white, and I think a lot of people, like students of color that go there, they're either giving the choice to just like tolerate that and assimilate, or like alienate themselves and leave. And I left. I transferred over to CHS, and CHS still has its struggles and everything, but there's more of a community there. And I think I definitely felt better at CHS, having my friends there, and my friend group was like always supportive. But I think even with both schools, I think the white students need to work on advocating for like the students of color, the Black and brown students, for the right reasons. Because I think most of them do it to make themselves look good, and we don't do that for that. We don't do that for like brownie points. We don't do that to make our like college applications look better. We do that because we care. And I like that's also why I still like am with the Boys and Girls Club, because I think that's the only place where I felt like I did have a voice, and where I did like matter, and where everything I said was taken into account, and like I actually felt like I could change things. Whereas like in my schools, I didn't really feel that way, and I felt like I was just like put aside, kind of. I don't really have much to say other than that.
I don't even have the words on what to say. You know, thank you so much for sharing that. We are here for you, to listen to you, with the hopes of shining a light to all these issues. And I'm glad to hear that you were able to feel at home or like you belonged here at the club. You know, we don't discriminate. We welcome anyone, everyone, and I'm so glad to hear that you're able to feel that way. So thank you so much for sharing that, Guillermo. Is there any advice, anything you would like to share with us on what you would hope to see moving forward?
I think what I hope to see moving forward is like having teachers that represent us, you know, having people that teach us the things at schools that we see ourselves in. And also like having things like the reading and the writing and all the schoolwork that we do, having it like represent us, and so that we can see ourselves in like the readings that we do and everything. Like, I guess just being able to see that representation is really important, and I don't think many people like really think of that. But I think, yeah, I just want that.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Our hope is for that too to happen. Anything else you would like to say?
Just like thank you for you and everyone here that's like sharing and letting us share as well. Yeah, just thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. So those were all the teens that wanted to share things with us tonight. I personally invited 2 friends who have been part of the community for a long time, and I invited them tonight to kind of compare and contrast the present experiences that are still alive, you know, where racism is very much alive, to compare it to my 2 friends who have graduated from previous years, to just show that this has been going for a long time. So I would like to invite my friend Maria. Maria is actually studying currently to be a teacher. So I just, you know, her experiences speak a lot on, you know, how this is going to shape her future teaching and everything. So Maria, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I just want to thank all the teens and the young adults for being here and sharing their story. I wish I had a place like that when I was growing up. So thank you, Camila, for putting this together for them to have a safe space to share their feelings and what they're going through.
Thank you.
So I actually moved here when I was 6 years old and straight to Corvallis. So I went to Wilson, Sheldon, and Crescent Valley. And it makes me really sad to hear that nothing has really changed from my experiences. And I graduated from CV back in 2009. So, you know, that's like a long time ago. And it's really sad to hear that the people who attended CV are still going through those microaggressions and all those feelings, because I went through that, and that's not something I would have thought would still be happening. My experiences are like Guillermo's too, where I was never represented in my teachers or my classes. All the microaggressions I remember from high school, I had a teacher who I walked in like 2 seconds late from the class, and this is when like CV was just getting bells, and he's like, "You're late," and I was like, "It's just 2 seconds, like cut me a break." And then half an hour later, a student comes in and does not say a word, and you know, you see those preferences because she's a foot or softball player and I wasn't involved because I felt like I didn't belong, and also the part that my parents couldn't afford a lot of the stuff, and just being on like free and reduced lunches in Sheldon. I don't know if they still, I hope they don't do this, but there was always a line where the people who had free and reduced lunch will go through, and then the line where like the paid lunches would go through, and it was completely different foods. So you feel alienated in that sense already. And even in high school, I had friends and they're like, oh, you don't need your lunch, like you get it for free. And it's like, you know, I do need my lunch for free because my parents can't afford it. So just those little things that, you know, you don't realize. And as an adult, just thinking back on it, I'm like, why did I take all that? Like, I wish I had your guys' strengths, you know, because you guys are really an inspiration to me, and hopeful that something might change, that you will bring change to everything that is happening now. And, you know, becoming a teacher, I want to be that person for someone to feel represented. I want them to feel comfortable in coming to me, because I didn't have that. The only person I had was my ELD teacher, and she's the one that really helped me with college. Like, she was the one, like, even after she wasn't my teacher, she would come back to CV to check in on me and say, have you applied for this? Have you done this? I'm like, I can't, you know, my immigration status, I'm a DACA recipient. And so having an advisor in that moment where you have to fill out FAFSA, and my advisor being, okay, you have to sit down and fill this out. And I'm like, I can't. She's like, well, why not? And it's like, I don't feel comfortable sharing my situation with you in the whole class. Like, if you would have taken the time to sat aside with me and just like gotten to know me, I would have shared that with you. And I only had one person in high school who was a counseling center, and she would really look for scholarships for myself. So I'm really thankful that she was there. But other than that, I did not feel close to any of my high school teachers, which is really sad, because that's like the moment where you really need the most help and mentoring. And so it wasn't until I think it was my sophomore year when I met Camila, actually through this camp that we do for Latinx students, that I feel welcome and accepted, and I started to feel like I belonged. Just because the same, I wasn't American, but then I wasn't like super Mexican because I had lived here my whole life. So really finding and advocating for yourself is really important, but also feeling safe and finding someone to help you with that. And I really hope that you find that, and I really hope that I become that for someone. So that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you so much, Maestra Solis. I'm sure you'll be an amazing teacher, and your future students are going to be so lucky to have you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for providing this space for everyone here to make them feel like they belong. And you're all important, and you all matter. You're all beautiful. So don't ever forget that.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And for our last speaker, you know, just to kind of give you a little more information on why I invited my two friends. Like I said, they've just been in the community for a long time, so there's some things that they can definitely relate that are still happening today. And my next speaker is my really good friend, Isaac Camacho, who I also met with Maria at camp. You know, both of these people are just such an inspiration to me for all the things that they do for youth. So I really appreciate them being here tonight. Isaac, you have the spotlight, my friend.
Thank you, Camila. Thank you for doing this. This is really awesome. You know, I think it's really important that we create spaces or different avenues to allow suffering to speak. And suffering, like a lot of people have been suffering, but there hasn't been a lot of avenues to let that suffering, like to let people speak and let their voice be heard. And listening to the kids, not the kids, the youth, the teens, their story is super emotional, because I still connect with some of the things that they're going through that happened to me when I was younger. So my family immigrated from Mexico, and I was lucky, and I say lucky because I had the privilege to be born here. And which I could never understand is that my other siblings weren't born here, but they were, like, we were all treated the same, but I had a piece of paper, I had a citizenship. And that to me was very unfair. And I had like the privilege to like apply for FAFSA, and I didn't have all these hurdles like my siblings did. But now society saw my siblings as less than. But I know who my siblings are, and I know how smart they are. Right now, I'm the only one in the family with a master's degree, and all my siblings make more money than I do. And that speaks volumes. But they're smart. My brother's an engineer on a boat, but they didn't have these opportunities. And in middle school, I had an opportunity to go to the summer camp, and that is where I met Camila and Maria, and that's where I also learned that I was important, that I was loved, that I was valued. That's where I learned to ask questions. If I didn't know what was going on, I was taught to ask questions and use my voice, because your voice is like the only tool that you can state how you're feeling. You ask a question, you get an answer, and answers is knowledge, and knowledge in this world today is society, or knowledge in this world is power. And so my brothers remind me, Isaac, but you got a master's, and that's something that people can't take away from you. But for a very long time, like, I got stuck inside my head. I was telling myself a bunch of negative things, looking back at my past. And like, I went to Sheldrill in 6th grade, and, you know, predominantly white school. And they had this thing that you had to sign every week. And if your parents didn't sign it, you get sent to in-school suspension. And my mom would work, like, she'd leave before I'd go to school, and my dad would be working in Alaska, so he was never home. Sometimes I signed it, and most of the times I didn't. And when I'd show up without a signed sheet, they send me directly to in-school suspension. I think in Sheldrill for 6th grade, I got 3 suspensions a week. They pulled me out of class, 2nd period, and I spent in detention doing all my homework. And so I felt like an outcast. I felt stupid. You know, I've been being pulled out of my classroom forever, you know, deemed a learning disability because I didn't speak English, because my school was predominantly white and they didn't have a system in place for ELD students. And so right from the start, I felt like less than. But then I started to see these systemic things, that, like, signing of a paper, and they don't understand that our parents are working constantly just to keep the family alive. And we don't have the privilege to have both of our parents at home. So, you know, I didn't have the privilege to have my dad at home. And not everyone has that privilege, but the people that are making those decisions don't take those things into account. And again, I had the privilege to find that community and grow and learn and have an opportunity to speak my voice or speak my truth. And I ended up like doing a lot better after my 8th grade teacher and Linus Pauling said that I was going to be dead or in jail or homeless like the rest of the Mexicans. And she sent me out of the classroom, and I was very angry, but at the same time, I didn't say anything because I was so used to that verbal abuse from people that I was supposed to trust. And like, I decided to not, like, I was like, I'm not going to let anybody but myself decide what I'm capable of doing or what, like, I don't want to do. And so I hit it off strong in high school, did really well, did a lot of community service, ended up with the Gates Millennium Scholarship, ended up doing my degree in criminology and criminal justice. which is a new realm of racial injustices, systemic issues that have been transforming for generations without people actually talking about like suffering. Or yeah, we have been talking about suffering, but there's no change that is happening. And so right now, the word that I say is I'm frustrated because we have a criminal justice system that is broken, and it has criminalized minorities. And from the beginning, my white counterparts saw me as a criminal before they got to meet me. And so that's not a fair race. Like I didn't get to start at the same time. And like you have to constantly remind yourself that you're a superhero because you're bilingual or bicultural, and you can't let other people keep tearing you down. You know, I didn't want to be a part of the criminal justice system that was corrupt, and so I went on to get my master's in education to figure out why kids, you know, were jumping out of the educational system into the juvenile system. And you know, it's not the kids, like the communities are hurting because of these policies that we've enacted a long time ago. And so like it scares me because I have these youth that are still telling me the same things in high school, calling the N-word, they're calling wetback, they're an immigrant, go back to your country. These are same things that have happened to me in middle school. They're still happening to me now. I taught 7th grade and a kid told me that I shouldn't be teaching, that I'm a landscaper and a gardener because I'm a Mexican. And it's like those issues run deep in society, and we need to create more avenues, more systems that allow suffering to speak. And we also need more people in positions of power that represent me, that represent diversity. That's the only way that I feel that we can change is to get people in power that are biculturally aware, so we can change these systems that are really, have been hurting our communities for a long time.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that, Isaac. Always such an inspiration. Well, so as you can all think, first of all, thank you everyone for sharing your stories tonight. And then thank you everyone as well for allowing our youth and our speakers to share their experiences. I think it's very important that we all listen and, you know, in a way can walk through the shoes of others. I hadn't prepared anything for me to share, but I'm originally from Peru. And when I moved to the US, I was 10. And I moved to California. And actually, my experience in California was a lot better than my first year here in Corvallis. I moved to 6th grade and 7th grade for California, was barely learning English, moved here for 8th grade. Then I was the new person that had just moved, who was still learning English. So I got picked on a lot for my accent. I had a friend that would always call me an illegal immigrant. And little did he know that at that point my papers hadn't come out. And, you know, I never really thought of it much until later after I graduated from high school that I realized that throughout my whole school experience, my parents always told me not to tell anyone, you know, about our status and everything because of the fear, you know, the fear of judgment, the fear of something happening, you know, all those threats of people telling you to get out of the country, making fun of your accent, calling you names, and not really knowing like your story. So I think it's just important to highlight how this, you know, has been present for so many years, and that sadly not much has changed. But there's really great things happening right now, you know, all these movements, all these people standing up. voicing ourselves, and I think it's very important that we do that now. You know, now it's the time, and I think you're all an inspiration. I think you're all brave, you're all beautiful, you're not any less than anyone. You know, you belong here, and I think that's something that we need to remind ourselves every day. So thank you again.
So if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask the panelists or anybody, feel free to type a question into the chat. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, and again, just your willingness to just be so raw and just straight with us on your experiences is really humbling for me to be listening to all of you. Definitely it strikes a really deep emotional chord. You know, we're here to listen so that we can understand how we can be more of the solution, you know. So I just want to really thank you guys for taking the time, because it's you know, it's tough. So I hope that for all of you that spoke tonight, you take some time to, you know, take care of yourself and, you know, take some deep breaths, and also to just really take in the support that you have here tonight and in this group of people and within this community. And so just keep speaking and, you know, let us know how we can support and help be a part of making things better. And I'm inspired. We've got some strong, brave, wise voices in our young people. And so you all know, I think this is the first community Zoom sort of talking, reflecting, listening session that is all student-led. So Nevaeh, you can add that one to your list too, of like a first. All right, do we have any questions out there?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Camila, is the teen center gonna open anytime soon, like during the summer or something?
You know, I wish. I think as of now, we are still talking about it. As you know, we're running an emergency childcare. And so we are very under strict guidelines from the Oregon Health Authority that we have to follow. So we are utilizing the space in our teen center as to serve as the classrooms to keep everyone separate. So as of now, I think what we're planning is to do some gatherings out in our plaza and, you know, use that time to hang out, catch up, practice our social distancing, but still be able to hang out together at the JTC. So just stay in touch. We'll be posting everything on our Instagram on the JTC Corvallis. So just we'll keep you updated. But thank you, appreciate that. I know you came a few weeks ago to ask if we were open. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Terrell.
So I think we've got a question there. Says, how do we individually or as a community reach out to people of color to let them know they are not alone and to create more of a community space? So I'd actually like, yeah, we'll pose that out to the panelists. And if any of the panelists would like to respond to that. And you'll have to unmute yourself if you want to respond.
Okay, I'll speak.
Okay, thanks,
I
Kayla.
think an extremely important thing is to not be colorblind, but to like also not pick on people because of their color. Like you don't, so you want to appreciate every person's skin tone and all the things that all the baggage that might be included with that, but you also don't want to assume what people have gone through as well. So being able to celebrate the differences of people and the different environments that people have been in, but also not making assumptions. I think that is a big way that people will feel more comfortable.
Great, thank you. Any other panelists want to respond or have a thought on that? helping kids of color feel that they're not alone, or to create more of a community space?
I feel like reaching out, especially, and just showing up to different events. Like, I know because I've played volleyball, I like immediately had a community of people that I knew they were there for me, and they just come up to me and be like, "Great job! Like, just know I'm here for you. Like, I see you around a lot, and just wanted to introduce myself." So just like not being afraid to spark a connection and show that you're there for that person. And going to community events. Like, I know a lot of people, there's not that much to do in Corvallis, so just go to the football game, go to anything, choir, theater, anything that you can go to just show support to everyone, but specifically people of color that need to know that they're being heard and that they have people here for them.
Great, thank you. So I'm seeing another question. How can we teach others to embrace those unique aspects of people of color?
If it's okay, I'll talk. So I'm in a child development class, and we had like this like culture week. We have like every week has a theme. And so for the preschoolers, we found books on, we read books about pointing out differences of other people, and the overall message was that even though these people are different, they're all very beautiful. Is also, I don't know, just like being like showing like how the book is also like in real life. Like teacher Kayla, that's what they call us. But teacher Kayla has curly hair, but teacher Emily has straight hair. Like, like just making it like real life, like so that people can make connections, I guess.
Yeah, great. All right, there's a question here. Any advice for small communities who are not diverse, where most youth only understand racism from the news media? How about some of our Boys and Girls Club alumni?
I really think you just got to get out there. Like, if your community is not diverse, you can't just sit there and not do nothing about it. Like, you can create different events to try to boost awareness within your community. You don't have to have like, you could invite people to come and speak at maybe a night out party, and just get communities aware. And if like, it doesn't, like, you could still travel to different communities and be a part of what they're doing. Like, if you have an opportunity to go to Portland, then you can still go out and learn and talk to people and immerse yourself in a different community. I think so many times you want to stay within your comfort zone. And I think everybody wants to do that. I think psychologically, that's kind of what provides a safety. But in order to like learn about how diverse this world is, we have to go out there and communicate with people. We have to build relationships, and understand that two minds are greater than one. And even if you talk to someone that you hate, I'm sure you could learn something from them. And I think that is very powerful, that we have a diverse like knowledge that we haven't accessed yet, because different cultures have different ways of thinking. And like, historically, minorities, we don't write like our historical data. It's all passed down through stories and verbal communication, whereas our counterparts may write it down, and we tend to praise that more often. But yeah, we just need to get out and communicate and get to know people that aren't like us, because the more you're unknown, the more that you're going to fill in the blanks and stigmatize that person or judge them. but it doesn't hurt. Like judging just makes a fool. So just go and get out there.
Great, thank you. Guillermo, I saw you were wanting to say something. Got to unmute you. There you go.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think a lot of people can be misinformed, like with the media and the way that like they interpret things. And I think it's important to like not be afraid to correct them and to like talk about it with them so that they have a better understanding of it. Because if you just hold on to that misinformation, you're gonna keep thinking that. And it's important to have someone there that like is having a conversation with you about it. And you're not just like getting your information from somewhere on the internet that you might not know if it's like actual valuable information, or if it's like, correct, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Great. Thank you.
Also, don't be afraid to speak up. I know sometimes, like, for example, in my work, I work at a school, and my principal, there's times where he'll say something and I don't correct them in a rude way, but just kind of like put the seed, well, why are you saying this? Like, what if you saw it a different way? And it could be things like advocating for the LGBTQ plus community, where, for example, we had a parent and they went by he, but born a female, and constantly they kept saying, well, she, and I'm like, no, you need to understand that they go by he, and you just have to keep reminding them, and then that change will eventually happen. Or just kind of speak up for when you see something wrong. Don't be afraid. Don't, just because they're your boss doesn't mean you can't correct them. And I think that's really important, because that's how you learn. Because they may be your boss, but at the end of the day, you're human and you're on the same level. And so allowing that safe space for understanding on both sides, and just having that open dialogue between the two of you.
Great advice. Any other panelists want to weigh in on any of the questions that were asked?
I would say don't follow into the stereotypes. Don't continue with the stereotypes. Get to know people. I think that's, it's pretty human to have those prejudice inside of us without sometimes noticing. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, and, just to see within ourselves that we're all equal, and that we're all human. We're all here, with a purpose, with goals, with dreams, and no one should be looked at or looked down at or made to feel less than because of what we look like, how we speak, our skin color, how we identify. So I think it's very important to be advocates for ourselves, and to speak up, and to always try to find, although it can be hard, but to try to find a safe place to do that. So, yeah.
And to just, reiterate, our high school team, so Camila and Casey and Robert, they are here to support kids in our community, teens, youth of color. As Camila said at the opening, we're here for everybody. We think that the most powerful thing that we can do for youth is to teach you how to use your voice, to help you find your voice so that you can get out there and advocate for change. And I think, you could talk to several of the teens that are either alumni now or currently coming to the club. I mean, that's really how this got started, right? It was Malik and JoJo almost 2 years ago were saying, enough, we need to have an opportunity to start talking about racism. So, hopefully as we move forward, the Boys and Girls Club, the Johnson Teen Center is a place where we can hold space, we can create a platform, we can provide that support. in any way that will help you bring your voice forward and to drive change. So know that about us. That's our commitment to this community, to our communities of color. So, just keep talking to us. Get involved. It's a place to belong. So I think we're just at about 8:30. So I think we'll just thank everybody. Thank you, everybody, so much for sharing your stories. And thank you to all of our listeners and staying with us for the last 90 minutes. Thank you to Jared from the Gazette-Times for being here and helping us get the word out into the broader public about all of the wisdom that came through this conversation.
Thank you, everyone, also for joining us tonight. You've been an amazing audience, and we couldn't thank you enough for listening to our youth tonight.